Marcus Johnson strode through Reagan National Airport with purpose, his tailored navy suit and crisp white shirt a stark contrast to the casual attire of weekend travelers. At 42, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had fought for every inch of his success. The morning sunlight streamed through the terminal's glass ceiling, casting long shadows as he checked his watch. 5:45 a.m. Flight 1726 to Atlanta now boarding at Gate C4, announced the pleasant voice over the intercom. Marcus adjusted his burgundy tie and grabbed the handle of his carry-on. The early Monday flight would get him to the Regional Security Conference with time to spare. As Deputy Director of Cybersecurity Operations at the Pentagon, his presence was not just expected, it was essential. "Morning, sir," nodded the gate agent, scanning his boarding pass. "You're in 12A. Enjoy your flight." "Thank you," Marcus replied with a warm smile. He made his way down the jet bridge, the familiar pre-flight excitement mingling with the weight of responsibility. The presentation on his tablet represented months of work, analysis that would shape national defense priorities for years to come. Marcus found his window seat and settled in, placing his briefcase carefully in the overhead compartment. As other passengers filed in, he gazed out at the tarmac, mentally rehearsing his talking points for the conference. The steady stream of passengers slowed to a trickle. Marcus opened his tablet, reviewing his presentation one last time before takeoff. A sharp voice cut through his concentration. "Excuse me? I believe you're in my seat." Marcus looked up to see a woman in her 50s, platinum blonde hair pulled into a tight bun, designer sunglasses perched atop her head. Her lips formed a thin line of displeasure as she clutched her boarding pass. "I'm in 12A, ma'am," Marcus responded calmly, gesturing to his own ticket on the screen of his phone. The woman, Vanessa Whitfield according to the luggage tag on her expensive carry-on, narrowed her eyes and scanned her boarding pass again. "Well, I specifically requested a window seat in this row," she huffed. "There must be some mistake." A flight attendant named Rosa approached. "Is everything okay here?" Before Marcus could respond, Vanessa cut in. "This gentleman is in my seat. I always sit by the window." "Always." Rosa checked both boarding passes. "Sir is in the correct seat, ma'am. You're assigned to 12B, the middle seat." Vanessa's face flushed with indignation. "This won't do. I can't sit next to. I need the window for my anxiety." The implication hung in the air, unspoken but unmistakable. Marcus maintained his composure, though he felt the familiar knot forming in his stomach, the one that had been there since childhood whenever these situations arose. "Perhaps there's another window seat available," he suggested to Rosa, willing to accommodate despite recognizing the woman's thinly veiled prejudice. "I'm sorry, but we're fully booked," Rosa replied apologetically. Vanessa's voice rose. "I'm a platinum member. I've flown over 100,000 miles this year alone. Do you know who I am? I demand to speak to the captain right now." Other passengers began to stare. The tension thickened as Vanessa continued, "I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel safe. He should be moved." The commotion brought the head flight attendant, Daniel, and the first officer to the scene. Vanessa had escalated her complaints, her voice carrying throughout the cabin. "Ma'am, please lower your voice," Daniel requested firmly. "No. I won't be quiet. This is unacceptable." Vanessa's hands shook dramatically. "I've never been so disrespected in all my years of flying. My husband is a vice president at Hartwell Banking Group." Marcus sat perfectly still, hands folded in his lap, maintaining his dignity despite the humiliation burning in his chest. Several passengers filmed the interaction on their phones. A few looked on with discomfort, but most avoided eye contact, silent witnesses to an injustice unfolding in real time. The first officer pulled Daniel aside. Their hushed conversation lasted half a minute before Daniel approached Marcus with a pained expression. "Sir, I'm very sorry, but we need to ask you to deplane. His voice was low, embarrassed. Marcus blinked in disbelief. I'm being removed? On what grounds? We need to de-escalate the situation. The captain has final authority, and we have a tight departure window. So you're removing me because of her behavior? Marcus asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. Several passengers gasped. A man 2 rows back spoke up, "That's not right." Vanessa smiled triumphantly as Marcus gathered his belongings. With remarkable composure, he stood and addressed Daniel. "I'll go quietly, but I want your name and the captain's name noted." Walking down the aisle with perfect posture, Marcus felt the weight of dozens of eyes upon him, some sympathetic, others averted in shame, a few satisfied. As he reached the exit, he turned to the flight crew. "You'll be hearing about this." Back in the terminal, Marcus immediately placed a call. His quiet fury was channeled into precise, measured words. "Lee, it's Marcus. I need you to contact General Patterson." "Yes, now." Meanwhile, at the gate desk, frantic activity had begun. The gate agent's face drained of color as she looked at her computer screen, then up at her supervisor who had rushed over. "Oh no. Oh no," she whispered, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "We need to stop that plane." Inside the aircraft, Vanessa settled smugly into seat 12A, arranging her belongings. The satisfaction was short-lived as the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a slight delay. Please remain seated." Minutes later, Daniel approached Vanessa. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us, please." "What?" "We're about to take off. The flight's been grounded by airport security." In the terminal, airline executives had appeared, along with airport security and a uniformed Air Force officer. On a large screen behind the gate desk, a video conference showed a stern-faced woman in a military uniform with general's stars. "That passenger you removed," the gate supervisor explained to the airline representatives, panic evident in his voice, "he's Deputy Director Marcus Johnson. Pentagon Cybersecurity Operations. Direct report to the Secretary of Defense." The airline's regional director paled. "The same Marcus Johnson scheduled to testify before Congress next week on aviation security protocols?" "The very same," confirmed the Air Force liaison. "And General Patterson is demanding immediate action." Outside, the jet bridge door reopened. Confused passengers watched as Vanessa was escorted off, her previous confidence replaced by bewilderment. "What's happening?" "You can't do this," she protested. Security Officer Patel responded firmly, "Actually, ma'am, we can and we are." 3 hours later, Marcus sat across from airline CEO Thomas Reed in a private airport lounge. Beside Marcus was his longtime friend and legal counsel, Zara Washington. "Mr. Johnson, words cannot express our profound regret," Reed began, hands clasped tightly on the table. "The actions taken today were inexcusable." "And yet they happened," Marcus replied evenly. "Not just to me, but to countless others who don't have Pentagon credentials or generals on speed dial." Zara slid forward a tablet displaying dozens of social media posts. Videos of the incident had gone viral, with millions of views and thousands of comments. #FlyingWhileBlack was trending nationwide. "Your airline has a documented history of similar incidents," Zara stated. 27 in the past year alone. Reed shifted uncomfortably. "We've implemented bias training, which clearly isn't working," Marcus interrupted. "This isn't about an apology to me, Mr. Reed. This is about systemic change." Marcus pushed forward a document. "These are my terms. Mandatory quarterly training for all staff. An independent review board for discrimination complaints. Transparent reporting of incidents. And a zero-tolerance policy for passengers who create disruptions based on racial bias." Reed scanned the document, his expression grave. "This will require significant resources. Less than the congressional investigation that would otherwise follow, Marcus countered. You have 24 hours to decide. Meanwhile, in another room, Vanessa faced her own reckoning. Her company's CEO had been notified, her social media accounts flooded with backlash. The airline had banned her for life, and charges of disrupting a commercial flight were being considered. That evening, Marcus finally boarded a different flight to Atlanta. As he settled into his seat, his phone buzzed with a notification. Reed had issued a public statement accepting all of Marcus's terms and announcing a comprehensive overhaul of company policies. The flight attendant, Karen, approached with respect in her eyes. Sir, the captain would like to offer his personal apology and invite you to visit the cockpit before takeoff. Marcus nodded appreciatively. Thank you, but that won't be necessary. The only special treatment I want is what everyone deserves, dignity and respect. 1 month later, Marcus stood at a podium in the Pentagon briefing room. Cameras flashed as he addressed the press. Today, I'm announcing a new public-private partnership focusing on equity in transportation. 10 major airlines have committed to our framework for change. The initiative had grown far beyond a single incident. What happened to Marcus had become a catalyst for national conversation. After the press conference, Marcus met with a group of young black professionals from the mentorship program he had founded years ago. Sir, when we saw what happened to you, it was like watching our own fears play out, said Tiana, a brilliant computer science graduate. But then we saw what you did with it. Marcus smiled. There will always be Vanessas in the world. The question is not whether they exist, but how our institutions respond to them. As the group walked together through the corridors of power, Marcus reflected on the journey. The incident had been painful, humiliating even. But the aftermath had created openings for progress that might otherwise have taken years. The work continues, he told them as they reached the exit. But today, we're flying a little higher. Outside, the Washington Monument stretched toward the clear blue sky, a fitting metaphor for the upward trajectory of justice that, though slow and imperfect, continued its ascent toward higher ground.